Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I will be continuing with my ongoing original character series where I talk about my original characters, also known as OCs. I am super excited because I get to talk about Keio in today's video. He is probably my favorite OC, and so I'm just super hyped to be able to share him with you guys today. Before we begin, I do want to give you guys a heads up that Keio is in the same world and story as my other OC, Aru, so I will be referring to the backstory and plot that I had shared in depth in Aru's video. So if you have not seen that video, I will put a link down below in the description, as well as on the upper right hand corner of the screen if you guys want to check that out for better context. So Keio is a demon of the underworld realm. He comes from a very prestigious demon bloodline that has served the Demon King ever since the king established political authority many hundreds and thousands of years ago. And so they are very loyal to the king, and they will carry out various tasks for him, and they effectively act like the king's hands and feet. For example, they may be involved in undercover or covert operations. They may serve as bodyguards or as members of the Secret Service for the king and his royal family, or they may be asked to protect political or important figures of the underworld. Sometimes they are also asked to carry out the dirty work and messy jobs of the underworld, such as assassination of political rivals or to quell rebellions against the government in order to maintain the peace in the underworld realm. So since members of this bloodline have to be prepared to essentially carry out any orders by the king, they have a very extensive and expansive training, which they start at a very young age in order to prepare for all of the obligations and responsibilities that are eventually expected of them when they get older. As a result, they are highly skilled in combat, stealth, and also advanced magic, which is unusual for individuals of the underworld realm. So as I had mentioned in Aru's video, the spellcaster realm houses all of the individuals who carry very high levels of magical abilities. And so in the underworld, it is very unusual for the demons to have that much magical capabilities. However, because Keio and his bloodline serve the king and work very closely with him, it is beneficial that they get advanced training in magic so that they can better carry out their tasks and responsibilities. Keio is assigned to be Aru's bodyguard when Aru is still very young, and although Aru is not really considered a political figure of the underworld, he does have a very unique ambassador status and represents the peaceful agreement and partnership between the underworld and the mythical realm. And so Keio is asked to protect Aru and escort him whenever he travels between the underworld and the mythical realm. Keio is also specifically chosen to be Aru's bodyguard because they are relatively close in age. So even though in the underworld demons live to be hundreds of years old, they are equivalent to being only a few years apart. So in the present day, Aru is equivalent to that of a 21-year-old, and Keio is equivalent to that of a 27-year-old. Aru and Keio became really quick friends, not only because they were close in age, but also because they had a lot in common growing up. As I had mentioned in Aru's video, because he is half demon and half dragon, he doesn't really fit in with the other demons in the underworld or with the mythical creatures of the mythical realm, and so he feels really left out and isolated, and therefore has a very difficult childhood. For Keio, he goes through a similar experience in that growing up, he had to devote a lot of his time to his rigorous training because of his bloodline, and so he did not have the normal childhood where he had a lot of free time and could hang out and play with friends, and instead he spent a lot of his time just with his training duties. In the original plot with the spellcaster incident, Keio had tried to protect Aru from the attack, but given that they were both still fairly young, he was very quickly outnumbered and overtaken, and as a result, Aru was kidnapped and taken to the human realm where he was held hostage. Keio then solely blamed himself for what had happened to Aru because he felt that since he was young and still in the midst of his training, he wasn't strong enough to protect Aru, and so he carried that heavy burden of guilt for what had happened to Aru. With the newer updated storyline, Aru is sent to the human world based on his parents' decision to best protect him during this time of invasion, but I feel like even with this change in the plot, Keio would still blame himself and carry that guilt and shame that he wasn't considered strong enough or competent enough to be able to protect Aru, such that Aru would not have to be sent to the human world in order to stay safe. So either way, I feel like as a result of Aru being sent to the human realm, Keio would use this to kind of fuel his commitment and dedication to train even harder so that he could become a lot more powerful and stronger and be considered a lot more qualified and competent. Eventually, Keio achieves the rank of general for the King's Covert Operations Division, and he is actually the youngest person to have ever become a general. So in the underworld, there are 5 generals that serve the Demon King, and Keio becomes the youngest of these generals, and he's often referred to as the genius or prodigy because he was able to achieve this rank at such a young age. In the old plot, once Keio became a general, he then figured that he was strong enough to save Aru, so then he sets off for the human realm in search of Aru and hopes to bring him back to the underworld. For the updated story, I imagine that after Keio becomes a general, he still feels this obligation to protect Aru, and even though he's been relieved of his responsibilities as Aru's bodyguard, he still carries that burden of guilt to the extent that he kind of still wants to prove himself that he can keep Aru safe. And so during his downtime from his general duties, he will go to the human world just to kind of check up on Aru and make sure that everything's okay. And he sometimes also uses that as an opportunity to kind of take a break and a mini vacation from all of the paperwork and the desk job stuff that he has to do as a general. In terms of his personality, so I feel like Keio is just a very likable character. He's very extroverted and outgoing. He's very sociable and has great interpersonal skills. And I feel like Keio is the kind of person who would be the center of attention and the life of the party. He's someone who I think you would really enjoy his company, and everyone would just really like him and have much respect and just highly regard him overall. I feel like because Keio is so lively, he can also sometimes be mistaken for being lazy or a slacker, because when he's out being a general and carrying out his responsibilities, he might try to crack a joke or just seem to take something very lightheartedly that it might be perceived as he's not taking his job seriously. However, because we know that he became a general at a very young age, I think that goes to show that he has a very strong work ethic and he works very hard to achieve his goals and his aspirations, and he's just a very diligent person. So that pretty much wraps up Keio's character and his backstory. One fun fact about him is that all 5 of the generals have a uniform that they wear in order to distinguish themselves in society, and Keio actually requests to have very heavy modifications of his uniform because he really dislikes very stiff and stuffy clothing, and he prefers something that is a lot more open and free-flowing, and especially because he is the general of the Covert Operations Division, he wants to be able to wear something that's going to promote quick movements and flexibility. And obviously his uniform is also very fan servicey, so I have this headcanon that he's also very distracting, especially given his very muscular physique, and a lot of his subordinates have trouble concentrating or getting their work done because they're just spending so much time fawning over him, and it doesn't help that he has such a likable personality. Though on the plus side, I feel like he could probably use that to his advantage and get his subordinates to carry out any tasks or scut work that he has for them, and they will very gladly obey him. So that pretty much brings us to the end of our video. I hope that you guys have been enjoying this series. Definitely let me know down below in the comments who your favorite character is so far, as I'm super curious to know. This concludes all of my major characters who have a very extensive personality and backstory. For the remainder of this series, I will be talking about my minor characters, and these are OCs that I have not really given a lot of time to building up and developing. And so I really don't think there's going to be a lot of content in terms of talking about their personality and their backstory. So instead, I will be switching back to my vlogging style where I just chat with you guys and share some updates and talk about what's been going on the past few weeks, as well as expectations and things to look forward to with this channel moving forward. So until then, I hope that you guys continue to stay safe, stay healthy and well, and I will see you guys in the next video.